First off, to Clayton. Clayton, listen to your comments. And first question is, we in Canada right now, our debt to GDP ratio is declining, and we're running a deficit to GDP around 0.7%. In the United States, the equivalent deficit to GDP ratio is around 5%. Would you argue for stimulus of whether it's a tax expenditure, tax cut, or increased spending to increase our deficit? And a lot of your comments were aligned with the party across. Would you argue for a higher deficit? How would you pay for it? What services would you cut? Brief response, 20 seconds, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the question. I think that, cherry picking economic indicators is probably not the right approach to looking at the challenges that small business owners face in Canada. I think that there needs to be a bit more compassion and empathy towards the plight that real people face, in particular with these new legislative challenges. And so I'd argue for a comprehensive tax reform to analyze the things that you've just discussed, which are very, those are very critical points.
So you're not answering the question. Second comment is we cut the small business tax rate from 11% to 9%, $7,500 saving for every business across Canada. Over 1 million jobs have been created by Canadian businesses here in Canada. A.T. Kearney ranked us the number 2 place to invest in the world last year in their annual ranking, and I'm sure we're going to be up near the top again this year. We introduced the accelerated investment incentive, and for some reason you forgot to mention that the marginal effective tax rate on new investments in Canada is actually 5 points lower than the United States. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to move over to Mr. Hatch.
Sorry, do I get a chance to respond
no, you
to that? Or?
No, there's no question.
We'll have to give Mr. Achen equal time, Francesco.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I completely agree. Shortly after the uproar that resulted from the July 18th, 2017 attack on private companies, the government brought back the 2015 plan to lower the small business rate. Whether or not that was a good idea is a question for economists. The jury's out on whether or not that actually encourages small business rewards and risks. A recent CPA report cited the need to review the tax system in order to determine if there's a net positive effect. Small business deduction only helps those who are fortunate enough to be earning enough to leave some behind after they've paid themselves and their employees. This seems a bit contrary to the government's objective of helping the middle class, where maybe there isn't enough to be left behind.
So,
equal time here, Mr.
Chair, I'm going to move on. He's effectively arguing for higher tax rates on small businesses. I thank him for his comments.
I'd appreciate it if you didn't put words in my